On the media, how is it that striking headlines, thumbnails of shocked faces, triggering words and stories of vicious crimes grab our attention? How is it that the most controversial tweets surface to the top of our feeds? Why is the media always biased towards negativity and make us feel that crime is happening everywhere, even when they are not? Our worldview determines our outlook on life. The way we see the world determines whether we interact with others using compassion or apathy, and trust or suspicion. It regulates how much positive emotion we feel and how much hope we have for the future, which determines how motivated we are to becoming the best versions of ourselves. Our bias towards negativity stems from the stories of our ancestors who saw negative interactions in terms of social exclusion, fighting predators, and hunger as a life or death situation. Psychologists find that the human mind reacts to bad things more quickly, strongly, and persistently than to equivalent good things. We can't just will ourselves to see everything as good, because our minds are wired to find and react to threats, moral violations, and setbacks. Jonathan Haidt, author of the Happiness Hypothesis, writes, "Responses to threats and unpleasantness are faster, stronger, and harder to inhibit than responses to opportunities and pleasures. This principle, called negativity bias, shows up all over psychology. In marital interactions, it takes at least 5 good or constructive actions to make up for the damage done by one critical or destructive act. In financial transactions and gambles, the pleasure of gaining a certain amount of money is smaller than the pain of losing the same amount. In evaluating a person's character, people estimate that it would take 25 acts of life-saving heroism to make up for 1 act of murder. When preparing a meal, food is easily contaminated by a single cockroach antenna, but difficult to purify. Over and over again, psychologists find that the human mind reacts to bad things more quickly, strongly, and persistently than to equivalent good things. We can't just will ourselves to see everything as good because our minds are wired to find and react to threats, violations, and setbacks. As Ben Franklin said, we are not so sensible of the greatest health as of the least sickness." We are by nature prone to novelty seeking due to the dopaminergic molecule of more firing whenever we encounter something new, exciting, or shocking. Fear is also another important component, as stories of violence could pose a threat to ourselves, so we need to assess the level of danger so that we can continue to propagate our genes. A distorted worldview comprising of fear at every turn hinders our ability to become the best versions of ourselves. We fall for stories as the narrative fallacy constructs memes into stories that spread throughout culture to help us make sense of our existence. The mass media, being a dying industry, has bills to pay, so they exploit our bias towards negativity using the only way they know how, by taking advantage of our brain's natural ability to categorize information and our implicit self-serving bias towards polarizing us and them. This in turn distorts our hope and perspective on life, shifting us out of allostasis and towards chronic stress and apathy to learned helplessness. Robert Sapolsky, author of Behave, The Biology of Humans at Our Best and Worst, writes, "We use different brain circuits when contemplating our own moral failings versus those of others, and we consistently make different judgments, being more likely to exempt ourselves than others from moral condemnation. Why? Part of it is simply self-serving. Sometimes a hypocrite bleeds because you scratched a hypocrite. The difference may also reflect different emotions being evolved when we analyse our own actions versus those of others. Considering the moral failings of the latter may evoke anger and indignation, while their moral triumphs prompt emulation and inspiration. In contrast, considering our own moral failings calls forth shame and guilt, while our triumphs elicit pride. A mental shortcut, known as the availability bias, relies on immediate examples that come to our mind when we are evaluating a specific topic. Stories of police brutality, terrorist attacks, rape and murder are designed to exploit this bias and generate negative stereotypes, making us feel as if these stories are commonplace when they are in fact rare. The probability of being a victim of crime in a developed world is very low. The media, including social media algorithms, were invented by a minority of elites to amplify novel stories exploiting our survivorship bias. We then use our confirmation bias to seek out stories that we agree with, thus tilting us even further towards polarization. Jonathan Haidt, the author of The Righteous Mind, Why Good People Are Divided by Politics and Religion, writes, the French cognitive scientists Hugo Mercier and Dan Sperber recently reviewed the vast research literature on motivated reasoning and on the biases and errors of reasoning. They concluded that most of the bizarre and depressing research findings make perfect sense once you see reasoning as having evolved, not to help us find truth, but to help us engage in arguments, persuasion, and manipulation in the context of discussions with other people. As they put it, skilled arguers are not after the truth, but are after arguments supporting their views. This explains why the confirmation bias is so powerful and so ineradicable. How hard could it be to teach students to look on the other side, to look for evidence against a favoured view? Yet, in fact, it's very hard, and nobody has yet found a way to do it. It's hard because the confirmation bias is a built-in feature, not a bug that can be removed. If we can become aware of how the media designs stories to exploit our many human vulnerabilities and learn to create more than we consume, we can regulate a state of allostasis, bringing us closer to realising our legend. Okay everyone, that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe and click on the notification icon and share this video if you felt you've learned something new. To find out more about how we can become the best version of ourselves and develop more awareness in our lives, check out circlo.com, circlo.com, and share this video to help spread the word. I'll be making more videos about the biology, science and psychology of design and how we can design a world that we can be proud to live in. I am on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Substack and all the other social medias to help spread the message, so take a look for unique content. Thanks so much and see you all soon.